We're talking college sports in the Deep South, where college football is king, and the battle cry on the plains of Auburn is War Eagle. We also like to talk about a lot of SEC football and college football as well. Got some really extremely disappointing news out of Georgia coming into the 2019 season. Jeremiah Holloman has been removed from the University of Georgia's football team following assault allegations. Okay. I mean, this is very disappointing because guys work so hard to get to this point, this level. We assume that the parents do the best they can to prepare these guys and their coaches. And, this is just really disappointing news coming out of Georgia. You're talking about one of the more promising wide receivers for Georgia, probably was going to be one of the main leaders, for Georgia, considering that Riley Ridley left. I mean, it was next up pretty much from J.J. Holloman, who had a pretty decent season last year, according to the UGA Police Department. Just an assault charge on what sounds like was maybe his girlfriend or an acquaintance. Very disturbing report, and it's very disappointing, to be honest with you. There are so many people that, want to be in this position, want to fulfill their dreams as an elite athlete in college football, and just being a good person as well comes to play, when it comes to this. These are moments that let you know that this thing is bigger than the game of football. We're talking about people's lives here. And we're talking about a young lady who's traumatized from the event. Of course, it got so bad that his brother had to come and basically defuse the situation. And it's just really, just not a good thing for college football and for this young man in general. I'm hoping that he can get the help that he possibly needs, from an emotional intelligence standpoint, to understand that not just because of football, but just the implications that it will have in life long term, that certain decisions just can't be made. Yes, Jeremiah Holloman was going to be a huge contributor to the Georgia football team this year. But more so, we got to look at this man's life. And hopefully he will be able to recover and bounce back from this. Hopefully the young lady will wind up being in a good space after this type of incident. And, of course, every college football team will make the statement that they uphold, they hold their players to certain standards. And Jeremiah Holloman, as great as a football player as he was, is no different. But this brings to the forefront these types of incidents that occur in college football and just sports in general. You talk about Reuben Foster a few years back having the incidents with his girlfriend, almost costing his whole career. We just have to find a way for these student athletes to have a little bit more emotional intelligence when it comes to their approach outside of the football, off the football field, because life happens off the football field and you're accountable for the things that you do off the football field. Georgia, an incredible program in the SEC, looking at probably going back to the SEC championship game. But this is just bad news, guys. I mean, straight up, this is just really bad news as it relates to just the sport and this young man in general, with an opportunity to expand and give himself some life experiences that he probably wouldn't have experienced otherwise at an elite university with, pretty decent facilities, and give you that life exposure that a lot of kids would be privy to have. Like I said before, it's just a very disappointing story. A lot of fans would look at this and say, well, at least we don't have to worry about J.J. Holloman, as a threat on Georgia's team now. But that's not the way I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this as this was going to be a very gifted athlete with a very gifted future ahead of him that just made a horrible decision. And that's the way the SEC nation, that's the way the college football fan base should look at this. This is absolutely terrible. You know, for this young man to now have, you know, you go from possibly being an all SEC wide receiver / assuming decent student athlete to getting dismissed from the team. That's going to be a stain on his life, period. He's going to possibly always be known as the guy that got kicked off of Georgia's team because of an assault. You know, and that's just not what you want to be known as. And I think that's, you know, something that we have to look at when we're going on social media and posting all this crazy stuff like good riddance and all this other stuff. Like this is where the game meets real life. You got to get away from being just a regular fan to understand that this is a human being's life. There were several human beings involved in this particular situation. This is beyond wins and losses here. And we have to acknowledge that at this point when things like this happen. These are the things that really, when I look around and I look on social media and I'm like, I can't believe the post. I can't believe the feedback that I'm seeing from things like this. More so worried about the SEC championship, more so worried about your team's chances at beating another because this guy is gone, but not looking at the totality of the circumstance. And I think that's where that consciousness comes in. That's where that consciousness, that's where that responsibility as a human being comes in. To say this is something that's been going on for a while with these student athletes, especially a lot of times in football, and it has to be fixed. It has to be addressed. You know, whatever is going on with these kids, this is something that has to be, you know, you probably brush it under the rug while they're in high school just so you can get them on the field on Friday. And then that thing translates over to college football. And next thing you know, you're in this situation where you're being sent back home or possibly having some type of charge because of just a bad lack of emotional intelligence decision. Once again, it's K-Stu to go for Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, where it's always great to be an Auburn Tiger here on Vernon Speaks Sports. I am Kennard Vernon Stewart. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also, comment whatever you may feel is necessary given this particular situation. And as always, War Eagle.